Welcome back everyone to Gotcha Interact. Today we're going to be talking about something kind of specific. We've seen something here and there talking about Chasca's possible kit that we're going to see in the future. Now, we'll probably definitely do a more in-depth video once we get a little bit more information, especially with the beta coming up in the future. We'll definitely get some more information most likely by next week. So keep in mind and your eyes open for that video as well if you guys are looking forward to Chasca. Now, let's go ahead and talk about her kit really quickly, and then me and you, Rift, we're just going to go back and forth and kind of just talk about this. So, looking at her as a character, in a very basic sense, what I want to say with her is that she is a quote unquote Wanderer 2.0. And when I say quote unquote, it really does depend. I think Wanderer is an extremely strong character, but anyways, let's get into the kit. We'll talk about this afterwards. Looking at her skill, you press to hover. So you press the skill, you'll go ahead and hover. You'll hold the skill to gain elevation, and then she can also jump horizontally, similar to what Shan Yun does. She uses up Night Soul points, so probably she'll start at a max and slowly dwindle down like we've seen some other characters do. And depending on, speed and whatnot, they might be slower or faster than some characters. If you use your normal attacks, they're going to be labeled right here as bullets, as well as the charge attacks are the same thing, so keep that in mind. There are coordinated normal attacks, which we're going to see from the burst, which when you use the burst or your Q, multiple instances of coordinated charge attack bullets will happen when you use your normal attacks or when you do those charge attacks, supposedly, so you'll have some extra bullets. Most likely when it says coordinated charge attack bullets, it probably means the charge attack damage, I'm going to guess probably, of those coordinated attacks is going to be based off the charge attack damage. And then when your normal attacks, when you do normal attacks, that'll happen for the coordinated attacks. And then also the burst is going to refresh your skill cooldown. She has a specific talent that gains attack and damage bonus based on different types of teammates and their elements specifically. And then the bullets that you get, if you infuse, you can either infuse those specific bullets with a different element as well, has the possibility and chance to do so. You'll restore Night Soul points as well when you trigger Night Soul, which will keep her in this Night Soul state longer. And then enemies that have been swirled also will get a mark, and you'll probably, once you hit a marked enemy with a charge attack, you're going to restore energy for all your teammates. Looking originally just though at the kit, Rift, what are you thinking first and foremost? What are your first thoughts looking at the character?
Well, like you were saying, it seems very similar to Wanderer, kind of just the possibly power creep version of that. And that's not to say anything against Wanderer. I have him myself with the weapon, and I don't think I'm going to deviate from using Wanderer if I were to get Chasca. I just really like Wanderer's playstyle. With that said, though, for maybe newer players or players who just don't have Wanderer, Chasca seems to be like a character you might want to set your eyes on for an Anemo DPS if that's something you don't have on your account. I'm not going to be surprised if Chasca's just simply better than Wanderer, better than Zhao, because she's a Natlan character. She's going to probably just deal more damage, but also she has that Night Soul mechanic. And so later on with, just other teammates, other Natlan teammates, she might just have more up her sleeve to offer than past Anemo DPSs. That's just kind of my initial thought. One of my favorite things, actually, looking at the kit that we kind of just went over a little bit and you talking about that, is her possibility to get different types of elemental damage based on swirling and infusing. And it makes me think if it's something different than just dealing normal attack damage with Wanderer with off-field elements or Hazo. You definitely are swirling the element when you do those kinds of teams. If you play those teams, you know what I'm talking about. But in this instance, it's making me wonder if Chasca actually inherently infuses with the element in something how we see it with like Sucrose infusion of the burst. Kazuha's burst infuses the element and it actually like changes color. Like I wonder if Chasca's normal attacks can do something like that.
Yeah, I think I have a very similar idea to that. And from what they've done with other characters in the game, specifically Anemo characters, talking about Sucrose and talking about Kazuha, when they do that, it still has an Anemo hit. So if you're going into Anemo damage bonus, or another great thing that you were talking about when you're using that Night Soul burst, which could possibly be used from other characters from the Scroll the Cinder City Hero set. So if you're using someone else to help buff that with somebody else in the team that's helping to buff that, getting the elemental damage bonus basically with the swirl with that specific character might actually allow Chasca to maybe, get all this elemental damage bonus for Anemo. And if you're infusing other elements, that might be a little bit of a turnoff. But like you're talking about, you could actually allow, maybe with some extra elemental mastery, create some extra maybe vaporized hits or something crazy off field, or I don't know. I think like with Kazuha's burst, even though if you put a Bennett burst down and a Kazuha burst on top of it, he still does Anemo hits, but he also does an additional pyro hit as well. So
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Great points actually bringing up with Kazuha there. And I think it makes me wonder that if this is the case and she does turn out to be like this, where she can just kind of work with any of those core four elements and kind of be molded it per se into a different damage dealer type element wise, then maybe attack percent goblet is just the go-to, because then that makes her very flexible. Kind of going back to why I even brought that up, the idea of her infusing with other elements, because once again, if that's the case, then for new players, she's actually got a very high value, because you can make her be your pyro DPS. You can make her be your hydro DPS. You can make her, just make her just stay on the Anemo. So like, if she can do that, I think that would be something that sets her apart primarily from a past character like Wanderer. It's not that she can just be simply Wanderer 2.0, but that she actually has something a little bit more unique to how she can be played that Wanderer can't do.
yeah, I was also thinking, even if it's not fully where it fully changes every single normal or charge attack or whatever, specifically with this talent, I still think that you're adding another character in the team that can help with application for your other characters. For instance, we think that
Mm-hmm.
Malika is going to be an off-field and on-field character, and she can kind of play both roles. Or Xiangling's another character. So if you have that off-field pyro, whatever happening, and if you're using Xingqiu or Yelan with this character as well, with Chasca, if you infuse Hydro, let's say with Shang or Yelan or something like that, then you're doing, some extra hydro hits, if you will. And then
Mm-hmm.
as soon as Shangling's burst comes around, or as soon as Malika's hit comes around from off field or whatever, possibly, that also will allow them to vaporize, doubling their damage or 1.5 times in their damage. And then, vice versa, it will allow and help your hydro character to, I believe, forward vaporize. So there's kind of some extra help along with that. So even if it doesn't fully work where it changes her every single bullet, kind of like what we're thinking, like what could happen, even if it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
change at all, it could still help with a very heavily strong based kind of reaction team, even with Anemo still as a driver.
Yeah, definitely. And when you were talking about the burst and how that might work, it seems like she's just going to be dealing a lot of separate hits. She's not like this massive build up to a nuke that we actually have been kind of seeing the theme be with Natlan characters. I mean, Mualani, she's all about building up to a big hit, right? That you want to vaporize. Kanish has the same thing with his skill. And so, yes, that's only two characters so far, but it's just like, it's pushing for like nuke type characters. But Chaska, as of now, definitely doesn't seem like that. It's definitely a lot of just sporadic numbers, and that's honestly for me, that's just kind of a play style I like. I like to just see my screen filled with numbers, and to the point where I almost can't see anything. I don't know. It's just really satisfying to see all the different damage sources. And so, Anemo characters, maybe that's just why I like Wanderer so much, because I like doing that with, like, I play with Yelan, keep the Farazan in there. So I think there's a lot of teams that Chaska will have that are similar to Wanderer, but then again still has a uniqueness to her where she can do some other teams that are still very different from what Wanderer wants to do. So I'm excited for this character. I really hope that this is the case, that she can actually like infuse and take one core element to actually kind of inherit that to become that DPS. So you can make her a cryo DPS if you would want to. That would be cool. Maybe we'll see it changes to her passive talents, where based on which one she does infuse or swirl, maybe once again kind of similar to Wanderer, she gets a certain type of buff. If she gets infusions with the cryo, she's getting crit rate or something like that. That would just be pretty interesting. I'm very curious about this character. We all know, and we've seen, if you haven't played the story, skip this part if you haven't seen the story, but in the story we did see that Chasco was wielding a bow. We clearly saw the Anemo vision way early on in the trailers even. The first character that came to my mind was Venti, and I'm like, surely we're not gonna get like a repeat Venti. I mean, we already have Kazuha, and there's so many Anemo characters are usually the go-to for Viridescent as supports. So to get another DPS, I'm kind of excited for that. I'm all for it. It's been since Wanderer that we've gotten an Anemo specific DPS, and we had a Zhao rerun. So I'm just pretty hype about this character.
Yeah, no, I'm extremely excited. And honestly, one more thing I actually want to say is I do like also that there's a possibility that while marking enemies, she can also restore energy for teammates. That's going to help a lot, especially with
Oh
characters
wow.
like Xiangling that have possible
Oh
issues
yeah.
with bursts. And it's almost like Xiangling can only really get her rotation back if she has an ungodly amount of ER and or if she's used with Raiden. So
Yes.
another character that could actually, especially that's in the more meta, if you will. I know people are gonna go either way with whether or not Raiden's meta or not, but whatever. I do think though that at the end of the day, having another character that can help restore energy is something that is nice to see, though, especially as an Anemo character. It's not an Electro character. This could also be tied to if you gain, Electro, though. So I don't want to get my hopes up too much because this might be less than what it actually is. And I think that's the kind of
Mhm.
idea we always see with speculations and whatnot. When we see stuff like this, keep in mind some of it is probably not going to be exactly correctly stated, nor is it going to be exactly the way that possibly we've even brought it to you, just because we're just waiting to see probably till next week exactly what's going to happen. But we did want to talk about
Yeah.
it today. Well, that's everything we've got talking about Chasca and her possible kit. Let us know what you guys are hoping for in the future from Chasca. If, you're kind of like me and Rift, hoping that we kind of get some interesting infusion type character. If you guys are maybe looking for someone that's just going to do straight up more Anemo damage than what we've seen in Zhao and Wanderer, let us know down in the comments. Hopefully, I think next week we should be able to get a little bit more information on her, and we'll definitely bring that forward to you guys as well. Thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also check out our Discord as well. And we'll see you guys in the next one.